Whoa. So, last night I did 2 ounces of ayahuasca, and honestly, like sorry if my hair is like kind of busted. Like, I literally, it's, it's been a long night. Um, it literally felt like taking about 7 to 10 tabs of acid. And if you're asking me like how would I know that? Yeah, I've done it. And there was times where it felt definitely like it was like 11 tabs of acid. Like there was this one point where I hit this peak, and it was like whoa, and it was very powerful. It was very transcendental. The whole entire thing started off with like an opening circle where people kind of like spoke about where they come from and like why you're here and why you want to communicate with the spirit and stuff like that. And it's very interesting how ayahuasca actually brings a lot of people who are looking for inner child healing, and lots of people who are trying to fight addiction and people who have become suicidal and they're trying to find the answer for life or like for them to be here and live. It was very, very interesting just being able to hear all of that. There were actually one or two other like researchers there, just like myself. Um, and like when it came around to me, like it was weird because I was the only person. I guess it's not weird. I was the only person that said like I'm doing this not really for myself, though I am getting something out of it. I'm ultimately doing this for like the greater good of the collective to like bring me the most enlightenment possible so that I can go ahead and like, deliver that to the people who need it most from me. You know what I mean? And it was really a very powerful experience. We ended up like we had this whole blessing ceremony where we opened like these channels, and once we took the medicine, the ayahuasca, I remember I remember being like one of the first people because like you lay down, and like I was one of the first people that literally just got up, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to like, I gotta go out of this tent. I gotta like walk. I gotta look at the stars. And the stars were so pretty. The moon was beautiful. And it was interesting because at first, like, the facilitators were like, you could tell they were watching me like, oh man, he's gonna like barf, or maybe he needs to go to the bathroom. And all I wanted to do is literally sit by the fire. And like, I sat by the fire, and it was like three of the facilitator mediator people, like they were all sitting around the fire like guarding the fire, and there was this one chair that was empty, and I was looking at it and I was like, I'm gonna go sit in that chair. Like if it belongs to somebody, I don't see anybody moving there, it's my chair now. And like I got up and I sat there, and they all looked at me like, is he gonna like try to like do something with the fire? And I just sat down and I started like doing energy work and pulling out, you know, it was insane. I started with my meridians, and I could feel like each finger in my meridian like pulsating and showing me like what was wrong inside of my body, and I would start pulling out energy from the meridian and throwing it into the fire. And at one point I ended up like pulling out like serpents, like these energetic serpents that restrict my abilities. And before you take ayahuasca, you have to put like an intention out there, right? So I put out the intention. My original intention was I want to unlock as much as my full potential as possible when it comes to as a star being, as who I know I divinely am. And I was like, I'm just gonna go ahead and that's what I want. I want that for myself. And one of the main things that has been coming up a lot through my meditations is to unlock my own power. I've been hearing the same mantra over and over again of like, I release my limitations. I let go of all of my limitations so I can free you of yours when it comes down to healing. And that's kind of like what played out again in my mind. I was like, I release all of my limitations so I can free others of their limitations. And that's when, I started pulling out these energetic serpents that were in my meridians. And like when I would pull one out, it had a bunch of some of them had a bunch of tentacles that went into another reality. They were really deep inside of my inner child. They were in my, like my chakras, my meridians, like they were stemming, and each one of them was repressing a level of my ability. And like if you've ever worked with me, like I have a ton of energy, and like especially when it comes to healing and stuff like that. So like imagine like if I'm perpetually running at a 9 out of 10, like these serpents have kept me at a 9 instead of a 10 out of 10 or beyond that threshold. And that's, I kept pulling them and pulling them and pulling them and throwing them into the fire. And I would like feel like this surge of energy. I didn't once purge, like I didn't once vomit or had to run to the toilet at all. But a lot of other people were. And I think it's because I've been doing psychedelics for such a long time, and I've done such heavy amounts of psychedelics that it didn't affect me that way at all. And like I said, this facilitators were kind of like shocked to see me be the first person to wake up, sit down in this chair, and then I was just literally doing the energy, or pulling the energy, and pulling these serpents off. And there came a point where I felt like I had like a helmet that was attached over my third eye, like a suppressant, and I would like rip it out and hold it and look at it and be like, whoa, and then poof, my third eye would expand, and I started understanding things about myself, and like how how I, I hit creator's block a while ago, and it's because I started seeing everything as work instead of like recording my experience and recording my life and sharing my life in general. I started kind of just seeing it more as work, and it was just like that's why you hit this stifling point. And like as a creator, a content creator, and as someone who profoundly educates people on a regular, like sometimes you get negative feedback from people online, and you're just like it can get to you, really, honestly. Like that's what the gist of it. It can just get to you because you put your heart into something, and then some people just go out there and like just because they didn't get what they wanted, they missed a bigger scope. And like that's when ayahuasca was just like, she, first of all, she's chill as hell. Like she's chill as fuck. Some people saw like a motherly figure. She was nothing like I thought she was going to be. Like I remember I ended up in like it was like this apartment slash kind of bar thing, and it was just her, and she was sitting there, and she was like, hey, she was like, it's about time. And I was just like, what? And she was like, oh, you don't remember? She's like, yeah, we've done this multiple times. Like we're old friends. Like we've hung out a ton of times. She's like, you always hit these tiers, and then when you come back down, you end up forgetting, or like you somehow convince yourself that you're not as powerful as you think you are. And I was like, now you say it, and it was like deja vu. Like I've been here before. Like this is all like, and talking to her was like talking to my friend, like my really old friend. Like it was real talk, and like I it was interesting because I have a couple other ascended master friends that are other ascended friends that like it was like sitting down with any of them and just having this real talk about like, this is what you gotta do for yourself, man. Like some people are not gonna get it, but like, Axel, like why did you come to earth again? To teach them how to do magic. Like some of them want it made easy, but like, Axel, did anyone make it easy for you to get to where I am at as an energy worker, as a profound healer, as an educator? I had to sweat. I had to work for it. I had to, you know, one of the most recent things that have really like irked the hell out of me is like with my courses, people get mad because they don't get a manual. And I'm just like, dude, I've had to commit everything to memory. Like, I've had to put everything, and right now I'm having like this deja vu. I've said this before right here. Like, I know I've said this before and I feel it. And it's, give me a second. I've trained my whole entire life. None of my masters, the masters that I've trained with, made it easy for me. They told me, if you're really going to be what you are supposed to be, you will carry this knowledge in the depths of your subconscious and you'll never forget it. I never got a manual. I never got repetitive lessons. I never got a shortcut to becoming what I am now. And I had to sit down with myself and be like, the people who don't get it is because they don't really want to be masters. I'm going to teach people how I became a master, not what people want me to give them. And that was like a really powerful thing for me, because it, I care a lot about people, and I care a lot about just being able to help people, but you can't help everyone. That's the thing that, like, I also, like, sometimes I forget about my soul mission. Like, I didn't come here to help everybody. Like, I came here to train the masters of New Earth. That's what I'm here to do. They're the ones that are going to go out and heal everybody else. And it was like, stay focused. And she was just like real with me. She was like, humans just don't get it because they want to chase a certificate. They want to chase whatever's there that doesn't really matter in the grand scope of things. Like, it's the knowledge and the absorption. Like, your whole body DNA has memory. You're a walking computer. There's no excuse for anyone, in my opinion, who really seeks to be enlightened and to be, who seeks to have ascension. There's no reason why you can't say, like, I'm going to learn this and I'm going to absorb it into my system and it's going to become a part of me. That's what I've learned to do for myself. Is it's inside of me. It's a part of me. It's not in my brain, but it's a part of my essence. And that's what has made, honestly, all the Antojai alchemy so profound, because it goes deep inside of your own energetic system and rewires who you are. And ayahuasca really showed me that. And then she went as far to, like, just have a real talk with me and just show me my perspective on, like, so many other things that I had become oblivious to. Like, even though I grew up in a shamanic culture and, like, really having certain kinds of resources, like, my earth parents strayed from hundreds of years of tradition and they became Christian. And when they became Christian, they became immensely, like, ignorant or, like, full of bigotry. And, like, they always repressed my sexuality. As a queer person, like, I live out in the open and I don't hide it. Like, if you don't like me because I am who I am, that's your own problem. But my inner child, I ended up in this dimension where my inner child was in a corner and crying. And I was like, what's the matter? It was like I was literally parenting myself. And I was like, what's the matter? And he was crying and it's just like, I can't be who I am because there's something wrong with me. And I was like, what's wrong with you? And he was like, I can't, like, people think I'm gross. People treat me badly because I like boys. And I was just like, I literally had to sit there and be like a modern day parent to my inner child and be like, listen, there's nothing wrong with you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You are who you are. And I even got to this point where I was like, one day, this is all going to make sense to you. You're going to become a very important person. And you're going to help a bunch of other little kids find their own personal power. So don't let what's happening right now stop you from being happy and being who you are. And I gave him the biggest hug. And then all of a sudden, I was gone. Like, the memory was corrected. And that happened a couple times in certain things, all tied to my sexuality, that I didn't even realize that, like, I had been shamed. Like, my parents shamed me for, like, they used to say, like, you're disgusting, like, for, even being attracted to men. Like, ew, like, like, you're possessed by Satan, or like all these horrible, horrible things. They were so mean to me. They were abusive, not only psychologically but physically. They did everything in their power to suppress me as a being. And that's why I've had a lot of resentment towards them, like tons of resentment towards them, and I don't anymore. Like, I healed. I was the parent that my parents failed to be. And I can't fault them for it. I find it mind-boggling that, coming from centuries of shamanism, you decided to just go into Christianity and totally abandon everything that, like, everything that I know that my ancestors taught you. Like, I find that to be mind-boggling, and I find that to be, like, extremely sad. But we're all walking our own path. And I know how the grand illusion works. Like, I signed up to be incarnated through them for a purpose, so I could get to where I'm at without the struggle that they put me through, the abuse, not only the ones that I mentioned, but also sexual abuse. Without that, I wouldn't have had the drive to pursue where I'm at, and if I'm good, and I started just really tapping into, like, this force of energy, and I'm getting emotional because I tapped into this force of energy of just understanding, like, this is all my dream, and, like, every portion of everything that's out here is me, and I've designed it for myself, and I've always known that. Like, I have always known that. Like, deep down at my core, I've always known that, like, my ultimate goal is always achieving freedom. When I was a little kid, you'd ask me, what do you want? What do you really want? Like, I want to be free. I want to be free. And, like, I got these tattoos on my wrist to always remind me to always pursue freedom. I got these on my chest to always remind me that I have to be emotionally free if I truly want to be free. And, like, if this is all my dream, I'm only free if I recognize that, like, I chose this incarnation the way it was ran. It was ran. I chose what happened so I could get to where I'm at, so I could remember who I am. this ancient star being that's been, it's been on Earth for such a long time, waiting to just be free from this. I just want to go back to where I come from. And some people will never understand that. Some people will just be like, yeah, sure, right? But that's been really the gist of it. And that's when ayahuasca was telling me, you need to tell people who you really are. And if they don't fucking get it, they don't get it. Like, not everybody's gonna get it. Like, and in terms of linear understanding, my mother is Ma'at, the Egyptian goddess of cosmic justice. And my father is Thoth, the Egyptian god of language and geometry and alchemy. My name is Autumn Ra. And I came here to finish what my ancestors decided they didn't want to deal with, which is educate humanity to a certain point of evolution again. And my title, given to me by my people in Adonai, is King of the Nakali Children. And that was when, again, coming back to, like, I'm not here to help everybody. I'm here to help my people. I'm here to help the Nakal. I'm here to guide them back home. Show them the way of our existence. And that's what I'm really here to do. And it was like, don't forget that, don't forget that. And that title came to me a long time ago, like I'm deep into meditation, and I struggled for such a long time when it first came to me, like, I'm what? The king of the Nakali children? Like, the concept of a king bothered me because I was trying to understand it linearly. Doesn't make me better than anybody else. I'm tasked with just showing my people how to do something. And it was so enlightening. It was so powerful. It was very, very beautiful. I'm trying to remember everything that, like, really went down, because it was a couple hours, like, of just deep, like, whoa, like, pulling things out. And it was interesting because being, you never, if you're a healer and this is your life, you never stop being a healer, not even in one of these moments. And there was this guy he was gone, and he was making everybody else around the fire, like, edgy, because everyone thought he was gonna, like, fall into the fire, or, like, he was gonna, like, jump into the fire or something. And it was weird because he was, like, starting to strip, and, like, though he had a sexy body and stuff, like, it was kind of like, okay, and if you've ever taken acid, like, that, like, it comes to this point where you get really sexual because you have all this tantric energy. And, like, you could tell, like, that's where he was at, but his body was just on autopilot, and he was gone. And, like, everyone was like, and I could feel everyone's vibration, like, freaking out. And I was just like, no. And he was standing with his back towards the fire, and I literally went, like, and everyone watched me, like, turn him around by just doing this with my energy. And then when he turned around, I went like that, like, and, like, because he was standing in front of me, so he wasn't looking at me the whole entire time. So I'm like, and when he finally was facing the fire, I was like, and then I went, and he, like, went down and sat down. And it was just like, I was talking to his subconscious the whole entire time, telepathically, like, listen, you're fucking everybody else's like trip right now. Like, you need to calm down. Like, I understand you're in a good place and I want you to stay there, but you need to understand that we're all experiencing something, and the last thing we need is for you to hurt yourself, and that to throw anyone else here who doesn't have this level of consciousness right now that I'm talking to you into a messed up scenario. Like, so out of respect for yourself and respect for everyone else, don't do that. You're better than that. You can do so much more than that. And like, he just hit this tear of like, like just finding his zen. And every once in a while he kind of hit this kind of like tear where he kind of started getting rowdy again. And you know me and some other healers, like the facilitators, were watching me like help them like give him energy and bring him down. And it was again, it was interesting. At first I kind of got like, man, I came on vacation and I was like, this is why I don't normally trip with people. Like, I made it this resolution a long time ago, like not to trip with anybody that I don't know, because it always ends up like, unless you really know the person, like I will not, like if I don't know you, like rather I've known you from a past lifetime or you've been one of my friends for like ever, I will not trip with you. Like, every time I do it, it comes back to bite me in the ass, and like I end up babysitting somebody, or I end up seeing the darkest versions of themselves, and it it ends up just kind of really tainting things at some point. But this one was interesting because it was like, this is my life. This is what I do all day long. Like, I'm I'm not here to like, even though I'm physically like detoxing and trying to take a vacation for myself, right? Like, I'm not, just because I'm on vacation doesn't mean I'm not perpetually this this being that's here to help people. And even though it's kind of like bringing down my vibes right now, like, because I don't want you to hurt yourself, like, I'm just gonna do it because that's what I'm here to do. Like, and I can't take a vacation from being that person. Like, I can't take a vacation from being that healer. And it was really interesting because, I wasn't there to heal everybody. I was just making sure that there was a sanctuary space. And like, it was cool because the more I created like this barrier of harmony, and like people just started coming out of nowhere, and like, it, people who don't understand energy, they just like gravitate towards you and they flock towards you. And they all were like sitting really close to me, and like it was very interesting. And sometimes I would hear some people like really struggling with like purging, and I'd just be like, pulling out their energy like from deep in the back and like throwing it into the fire to like help them kind of get past that a little bit more. Yeah. And it was just like really, it was really cool. It was really cool. So today, in less than 30 minutes, I am going to be doing my second round of it. It's daytime this time, and I'm going to be doing 3 ounces instead of 2. So 2 ounces felt somewhere between 7 to 10 tabs, except like, if you ever take an acid, it didn't feel like you had no chemical, whatever. Like, it was just a pure, like, if you could imagine the purest acid, like, ever, that's what it was. There was no hangover. At least I didn't have a hangover. I didn't purge. I didn't do any of that. It was so clean, and it was so like profound. And then I hung out with my dad Thoth, and like he taught me a lot about the Eye of Horus, and like how people see the Eye of Horus linearly. And like, because everyone sees their third eye, right? And you think your third eye's here, but like the in ancient Egypt, we recorded and we said this to you guys forever ago. Like, if you take your brain and you cut your brain in half, like the eye of Horus is in your brain. Okay, so your linear understanding of your third eye, just here, that's that's linear. Now, this is your third eye, but your third eye as a physical organ is in the center of your brain, like right there. That's a second dimensional understanding of what your third eye is. And if you connect that linear connection between, you unlock more of your third eye. And then all of a sudden, like, I felt like somebody had like I got tattooed the eye of Horus on my left eye. And I even got to this point where I'm like, when I'm done with this, I'm getting this done. Like, I'm getting this done. And like I was just like I was like, wait, bitch, like, you need to calm down. I was like, you could have had this tattoo back in ancient Egypt and nobody would have blinked an eye. Like, today you get a face tattoo, girl, and like, who knows, like, people are gonna like not be able to interpret what's going down. And I was like, okay. And then that's when I felt the moon energy just like embody me and hit me and like take me over. And I felt so much power. And I was able to understand, like, a long time ago, they told me I was going to have the ability to do essentially whatever it is that I wanted to do. And I, I have unlocked a form of my ability where I'm going to play around with it. But they've told me, like, I know that I can materialize things from the nothingness. And I can teleport things from the nothingness into, like, matter. And like literally reconstituting and recreating my reality. And I'm a being of creation. Like, my vibration, my name, and that was the thing too. It was like, you've had 1,000 different names, from Autumn Raw to Excel to whatever lifetime you've had, but your vibration has always been one, the same thing. Transmutation of chaos into harmony. And Autumn, like, Autumn Raw, if you look up what people recorded about me, I'm a deity of creation, right? And that's what people they called me a deity because they didn't really understand what it was that we were capable of, but really they were capable of it. And that's what we were trying to teach them this whole entire time, is that, like, we seem like deities because you just don't understand this full scope of your reality. And that's what we were doing this whole entire time, is teaching them how to do that. And then they forgot about it. And that's why my ancestors left, because they were just like, they just don't get it. Like, they're just not going to get it. Like, we can help them from home, but like, only those who seek us. And my peers were like, we can't just leave humanity fucked. Like, that's not right. And we stayed. And like, it was nuts. It was just like all this stuff coming to me. And like, I had this story. I remember this story of like these beings in ancient Egypt, which they don't want me to say their name. But these beings in ancient Egypt, we beefed with them at some point because they learned this same property that I'm speaking about, of like creation. That's how the pyramids were created. Create like this power of being able to materialize from the nothingness. And there were all of us, like the Egyptian, like, pantheon, right? And the beings that I won't say their name, and we had kind of like this almost like this full decked out war, that it was like, we don't trust you with all this power, and they were like, we don't trust you with all this power. And like, we were like, why would you not be trusting us with all this power when, like, we're teaching humanity? And they were like, because that's a lot of power, and like, you guys already have like a like a monopoly on the area, and like, you guys are essentially being deified, when you're all aliens, and like we were like, okay, like we were like, but you guys, we could say the same thing, and like the old EGOT, like the old pantheon that I belong to, and like those those other beings that I won't name, we came to a conclusion of like, hey, like fine, like as long as we promise never to use it for like negativity, like we won't step on your toes and you won't step on ours. And they were like, okay, cool, like that's totally gravy. And it was like those serpents that I was pulling out were tied to those beings that they had put a throttle on me, because they were like, not it was really interesting because like I don't I don't really dig Christianity. Not because I have anything against anyone who's like Christian or anything. That does, whatever you believe in, whatever gets you to source, that totally, like, hey, I respect that. But for me, my like my experience with Christianity has been very repressive, and like especially because like I come from people who were completely shamanistic, and like for some reason went into like Christianity, and I saw what that did to my parents, and like I had this like thought, whereas it's like, Axel, you're 29, and Jesus was about, in his 30s, his early to mid 30s, when he came into his full divine alignment and power. You got you got here a little bit sooner than he did, but that's what this moment's about right here. Like, you came here wanting to know about your own power and unlocking the full potential of your own power. And here it is. Here it is. And I was just kind of like, that makes a lot of sense. Like, like that's I never really looked at it that way. Um and yeah, I feel like I'm missing something crucial. I really started understanding about like how I love people, and like I've been alone for such a long time, not only as like an astral being, like waiting for other people to wake up, my peers to wake up and catch up and reunite, but also like I ran away from home when I was 16 after I got raped and by my dad. And it was like a hate crime for being queer and coming out of the closet. Like, it was almost like, I'm going to show you that you're not gay. Like, you don't want this, right? And I had blocked it out. I had blocked it out for such a long time. I just one day, I didn't even know why I did it. I just one day was like, I got to get out of here. And I ran away, and I picked up all my shit and just left. And since I was like 16, almost 17, I've been on my own. I have had to sweat to not only become who I am as a person. I've never had really anyone to rely on. And deep inside of me, I felt this loneliness that I never really wanted to, I guess, acknowledge to myself, because I got so used to it. You know what I mean? Like, my family has been, even growing up, like my family was always like, take care of your own shit. Like, you could never show any moment of weakness in any sense, because they would make fun of you, they would make you feel less than, there would be gossip, there'd be something there that always made me feel like I have no one I can rely on other than myself. And like the cosmos, has never fucked me over, and like my guides are the only thing that I can authentically be like, this is family. And thank God that like the last 2 years have been really powerful, because I have met the most amazing people that are literally my best friends, and they're all over the world, and I know them from like other lifetimes, and like some of them are in Detroit, and like it's just I've been waiting for them for just a long time, like my real soul family. I was just like, I've had felt so alone for such a long time, and then they all started coming out of the woodworks and remembering who they were and aligning themselves again with me through Instagram, through through Tinder, through the most obscure places that I never thought I would meet my soul family. Like, it's ridiculous. And I was just kind of like, you're not alone anymore. Like, you've always felt this way. And like deep inside, Axel, you have to get to this point where like you felt alone, not only as like this being that's tasked to help a large multitude of people, but also like this whole entire incarnation has been extremely difficult. And then I just saw the blessings. Honestly, I saw the blessings of the illusion of like you've never been alone. You it just felt like you were alone because you're just waiting, and it was like patience. Like that's been one of the things that I've struggled for millennia with is patience. Like especially being an energy of creation that's what my vibration is. Like you know what I mean? Like creation. Like I've always been if you know me well in this incarnation, like if I want something, I'll make it happen. I will trade with you. I will pay you. I like if I want it, I'm going for it. And like there's nothing that's gonna stop me from getting it. And if I can't get it from one source, I'll find it in another source. And it was really powerful just being like, dude, like patience, man. Like you were just waiting this whole entire time. Like you had to wake up. You had to wait for your family to wake up for you to like notice that you're not alone. Like and especially in February when I found out that I was dealing with a serious health condition, my crew was there. Like they were there. They sat down to meditate with me. They sat down to give me advice, research. Like if that's not my family, what the fuck is? Like it's ridiculous, and it was beautiful, and I'm just grateful. Like I'm just right now I have so much gratitude. So I gotta go because I gotta do another rape, and I gotta do another ayahuasca. So I will see you later. Love you so much. Thank you for just taking this time to listen to me and hear this first experience. Definitely be back and tell you about the next one.